Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian. I'm here today at the Rock Island Auction House taking a look at a couple of the guns that they are going to be selling in their December of 2016 premiere auction. Specifically, today we're taking a look at two different types of Japanese Type 99 Arisaka sniper rifles. Now, the more common sniper variant of the Arisaka that's out there is the Type 97. That was manufactured in 6.5mm. It's basically a Type 38 Arisaka with a scope on it. And they made in total about 22,000 of those. Well, in 1941, a couple years later, the Japanese military decided that it needed to add a 7.7 caliber sniper rifle. The Type 99 was going to replace the 38 as the standard Japanese infantry rifle, and so they wanted a scoped version of it to match. Now, through 1941, they did a bunch of testing on different configurations of rifle. They tried a couple different types of optic, 2.5 power. There was a 4 power, a couple of different 4 power scopes that were tested. And they also tested these with both the Type 99 short rifles and the Type 99 long rifles. So the very first, early in the manufacture of the Type 99 Arisaka, they originally had a full-length version that was as long as a Type 38. And they rather quickly decided that that extra length wasn't really necessary, and they standardized on a shorter pattern of gun. Well, when they did the testing with the scoped rifles, they came to the exact same conclusion. I believe the Japanese study found that if you put a scope on a Type 99 long rifle, at 300 meters you would see an accuracy improvement of 35%. I'm presuming they're talking about like a reduction in group size, but I don't know the specifics of how exactly they arrive at that number. Well, if you do the same thing, put that scope on a short rifle at 300 yards, you get a 34% improvement in accuracy. So a 1% difference between the long rifle and the short. And they looked at that and they said, well, you know, that's a pretty trivial difference. We'll just go with the short rifles. That was what was becoming the standard for the infantry rifles anyway. They're shorter, they're handier, they're cheaper. Why not? We'll just make the snipers short rifles too. Now, interestingly, when they manufactured these guns, there was actually no hand picking or special gauging or anything. They just pulled the receivers off the rack or pulled the rifles off the rack and built them, some as regular guns and some as sniper rifles. So nothing, there's no special accuracy element to a Type 99 or to a Type 99 Arisaka sniper. The idea was not that the gun was more accurate. They were quite happy with the accuracy of the rifles in general. The idea was that by adding a scope, you're allowing the shooter to get a better sight picture. They're able to aim at smaller things that they wouldn't otherwise be able to see, and they're able to get a more precise shot with a telescopic optic rather than aligning two sets of iron sights. So these really are not sniper rifles, so to speak, as we today would think about snipers. These are precision rifles, or designated marksman rifles. And the terminology is all kind of vague because I don't know what, actually, to be honest, I don't know what the original term would have been in Japanese and how one might choose to translate it into English. At any rate, they're the optics rifles here. So these were manufactured by two different Japanese arsenals, Kokura and Nagoya. Nagoya made the vast majority of them, like 10,000 of them made at Nagoya. The highest serial number that's been recorded from Kokura is 826, so probably about 1,000 of them made there. And they actually used two different types of scopes. They used a 2.5 power scope. All of the Kokura guns have these 2.5 power scopes, and not many, obviously. Nagoya actually manufactured, started making guns with 4 power scopes up to about serial number 5,000. And then from 5,000 to 7,000, they used 2.5 power, probably because Kokura stopped making them. Nagoya got all of the leftover supply of scopes, so they used them until they ran out. And then from 7,000 to 10,000, Nagoya went back to using 4 power scopes. Now, at the end of this period of manufacture, they did also experiment with an externally adjustable 4 power scope, which is pretty cool. We've got one of those here to take a look at. So the sniper versions of the Arisaka were all made with offset scopes, so you could still use your iron sights, and more importantly, you could still use stripper clips for reloading. They all have bent bolt handles so that you can still get a good grasp on the bolt handle despite having a scope right there. And then this is the standard 2.5 power scope. These were used on the 6.5 guns and also on the Kokura and a small number of the Nagoya 7.7 guns. You may notice that there are no controls on this thing externally. These were zeroed at the factory. Now my understanding is if you've got the armorer's tools, you can actually pull the lenses out and you can actually adjust the zero on these without having a full factory setup, but it is not a trivial task, and it's not something that soldiers were expected or probably allowed to do in the field. The idea is this rifle would be zeroed at the factory, and you would keep your scope with your rifle, and then there was nothing to go wrong. There was nothing to accidentally bump and lose zero. There's nothing that a stupid soldier could mess up. The problem is, when these rifles came into the US after World War II, they virtually all ended up with mismatched scopes. So it's extremely rare, if not unheard of, to actually find one with a matching scope. Now to take the scope off, we have a lever lock here. We're going to lift this button up and then rotate to the front, and then we have a little spring-loaded button right there. Push that down, and the scope just slides nicely off the back. Got a good little dovetail there, locked in with this. This center bar is the locking piece, so it rotates up and down. Now, these scopes are marked with their rifle's serial number on the inside. This is 7022, so this is actually the scope from a Nagoya gun mounted on this Kokura rifle. As I said, they're virtually always mismatched. It's a 2.5 power magnification by a 10-degree field of view. Got a serial number there. There are actually 6 or maybe even more than 6 different companies that manufactured optics for these. They did come with a rubber eye cup. Most of those are either gone or totally crusty and hardened. There are reproductions. This one's nice enough that I suspect it's a reproduction, although I don't know for sure. So here is one of the adjustable 4-power scopes. It's substantially larger. You can see the 2.5 there for comparison's sake. They did make, most of the 4-power scopes were a fixed 4-power with, well, honestly, with a mounting very much like this one. They did experiment with some externally adjustable scopes towards the end of production though. This is one of them. Removal is done the same way. We're going to rotate the locking lever to the front, push the button, and this slides very nicely off the back. It is also serial numbered here. This one is 4870, which does not match the serial number of this rifle, unfortunately. They pretty much never do. Now, even though it is externally adjustable, this is not a trivial thing. This has 3 square-headed bolts under these caps, and you would have to, what you would do is you'd kind of have to loosen all 3 of them and then put pressure on depending on which way you were trying to move the scope. This is something you would definitely want to do with a jig. It may be technically adjustable, but it's not the sort of thing that you're going to go out there and just re-zero your rifle in the morning off a little shooting rest. Now you'd want a fixture to put the rifle in, and this would be kind of a nightmare to re-zero. It's better than not being able to do it, but it's not great. Couple other details to take note of here. The serial numbers on these rifles are put on the rear receiver bridge, as are the Arsenal marks. Normally, you would have those on the side of the receiver right under where the scope mount is. So since that would make them completely illegible, they moved those markings to the top. That's to the top there. That's a nice way to be able to distinguish between an Arisaka that someone has added a scope to and a true factory Arisaka is the location of those marks. Now, with the 6.5 guns, they actually redesignated the rifle to be the Type 97. With the 99s, they did not. The 99 snipers and the 99 infantry rifles both have these markings that say 99 type, 99 Shiki. Chrysanthemums, same as all the other Japanese rifles. On there is the mark of the Emperor, typically obliterated after the surrender of Japan. Because these were manufactured relatively early in the war, they do have pretty much all early features. So you'll find things like the anti-aircraft sights, Typically you would also find them with monopods, although this one does not have a monopod. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Pretty cool to take a look at these. There are about half as many of these out there, or half as many originally made as there were Type 97 snipers, so they're pretty scarce guns to run across today, and hopefully now you have a better idea for some of the different variances and what the Japanese were doing with these. If you'd like to own either of these, take a look at the description text below. You'll find links there to Rock Island's catalog pages on both of them. And in fact, there are a number of other Type 97 and Type 99 snipers in this upcoming auction. So if you're interested in acquiring one or more of these, definitely take a look through the rest of the catalog to check out the others that they have as well. And thanks for watching.